All right, guys, this is Mr. H again. This is question 20 from the June 2023 Regents exam. This is a pretty straightforward question. Like if you understand domain, you don't really need to graph this because it's a quadratic. So, and it's going to be a smiling quadratic. So it's going to look something like this, right? It has arrows on it, which means it's going up forever. So if we were to try to look at this domain, so this is the minimum X value. This is the max X value. Now look, because it has arrows, it means that it's going to go, it's going to be going up in the Y direction and in the X direction, come on, X, it's going to be going out to a negative infinity. This one, same thing. It's going to be going up in the Y direction to infinity, but in the X direction, it's going to a positive infinity. So as soon as we know it's a quadratic, we know the domain is going to be a negative infinity to a positive infinity. Some people are looking here and they're seeing the Y value, the minimum Y value, but they're doing the range, not the domain. Domain are vertical lines, they're X values, so you got to look at X values. I'm going to go ahead, even though I've answered it, I'm going to go ahead and graph it so that you can see that as well. So let's go over here to the graph. Okay, this was from the last question. So menu 14, get rid of that. Yeah, and then we want to do menu 45. Let's make the window back the way it really was. And then we're going to put in the function. So it's x squared. It's plus x. It's minus 12. Press enter. So it's a quadratic, it's a smile. We just want to know what is the domain. Now, remember what I said. If the graph is going off the edge of the screen, that generally means that it's going to infinity. Now, if you want to check it, all you can do is do menu 44. I'm going to put the center at the origin. Now, notice that the bottom comes into screen because it has a minimum. But if I keep going, the top is still going off the edge of the screen. So that means it's going up to infinity, but it's also going out, right? Not only is it going up, but it's also, now it's hard to see this because we're zooming out, but it's also getting wider each time we zoom out. Although we're zooming out, so it looks like it's getting thinner, but basically the quadratic is going out, out, out as it goes up. So it's going to a negative infinity to the left, going this direction, and it's going to a positive infinity to the right. So the answer for this is definitely a negative infinity to a positive infinity. Like, I'm going to show you something. Menu 6, this one has a minimum. So if I go here, now notice that the minimum value is a negative 12.25. So that's the bottom of the graph. But we don't care about that in this case. We just want to know the domain. So it's the X values, it's the verticals, lines, but the answer to this is a negative infinity to a positive infinity.